yes, life on earth can be a beautiful thing. All of us do have a strong sense that there's something deeply wrong with our worlds. Today, for those of you with courage to believe, we look into Genesis 3 and find out why our relationships are so difficult and why it is so hard to accomplish anything. Please subscribe and click notification. Thank you. Follow along in Genesis 3, beginning at verse 14. Then the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you more than all the livestock and more than any animal of the field. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. And I will make enemies of you and the woman, and of your offspring and her descendants. He shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel." We see a very direct curse. "Cursed are you," says God to Satan. And he describes a very specific cursing which includes both humiliation and ultimate defeat. The humiliation language in this text is very strong. You're going to eat dust. You're going to be on the ground. I will talk more about the change of nature under Adam when that will make more sense. But for now, just know that Satan started high and he's going low. And though Satan and Eve are now in a battle, there is hatred between them, and that will continue through the ages. Nonetheless, Satan's ultimate defeat will come through the seed of a woman. "And I will make enemies of you and the woman, and of your offspring or seed, and her descendant or seed." It's the same word, seed. This makes complete sense for the offspring, the descendants of Satan. It's unusual to say her seed. It's sort of like saying her sperm. It just doesn't make sense unless something very unusual is happening, and that it is. This is the introduction of the grand theme, unusual birth. Think about it. Unusual birth is all through the Bible. Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Samuel, and Christ. The virgin birth. A man born without the seed of man. Christ was the seed of woman. And what is this Jesus going to do? He shall bruise or crush you on the head, and you shall bruise him, or you shall crush him on the heel. Yes, Satan dealt a mighty blow to Christ on the cross, but Christ came back from the dead. And someday, Christ will crush Satan. "I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you shall deliver children. Yet your desire will be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." This is one of those texts where you wish you could know so much more than what's here. Folks, we don't know anything about procreation before the fall. What you need to know is this. The whole work of filling the earth just got much more difficult, much more painful, from start to finish. Eve was created as a relational being, and her curse fell to her relationships with her children and with her husband. "Yet your desire will be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." Desire is a word that could be sexual desire. That is a possible and used translation. But it could also mean a sort of a desire for control. And I'm going to argue that it's the latter, based on the very close usage of both desire and rule that we find in the Cain narrative. Sin desires Cain, but he must rule over it. In other words, sin wants to conquer you, wants to take over you, but you have to fight very strongly and powerfully against it. So, you wanted what you couldn't have, what I told you not to take, and this is the result. Now, Eve, you're going to want to control your husband. You're going to plan and connive because you're your own little God. You know what's right, you know what's good, and you're going to make him do what you want. And husbands, you're also your own God. And it just turns out you're a little bit stronger, so you know what? You can push her around when things are bad. Happens every day, all over this earth. It's sin. Now, if what I said is right, then what's the remedy? Ephesians 5. Husbands, love your wives. Deal with your anger and love those wives. Ladies, submit to your husbands. Don't order your life and make your husband do what you want. Order your life under your husband. It's the only remedy to Genesis 3. Then to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. With hard labor you shall eat from it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall grow for you, yet you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, because from it you are taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return. God cursed Eve's relationships. For the man, he curses his environment. We're going to work and work. It's going to be hard to do anything. You're going to plant corn and get weeds. You're going to want to put up a straight wall, and it's going to be crooked. You're going to want to build a great company, and it's going to fall apart. These things happen constantly because the cycle in sin is to go back to dust. Finally, let's talk about this change of nature. I do believe the easiest way to understand these texts is to believe that the fall caused an enormous amount of change in the human body and in the realm of creation. It is possible the serpent was standing, and after the curse, God forced him to the ground. That God added thorns, thistles to his plants, that the human body was changed to be subject to death and sickness. Is there good context and connection? Yes, there's also connection. Romans 8 teaches us that the natural world is under bondage to decay. Perhaps Isaiah 11, where we see the lion laying down with the lamb, perhaps is a picture looking forward to the day when those changes will be redeemed. And yes, I do look forward to that day. Satan will be crushed, nature will be redeemed, a new heaven and earth will be created. Christ will win.